Hello and welcome to another edition of On the Spot. I'm Christopher Taylor of My Astro Chris, and you're back on the spot with me. So welcome back again. Again, this is your chance to get a glimpse, a little taste of what kind of information you can get out of astrology reading and what kind of astrologer I am for you. So this is a great little clip for you to go by if you want to assess whether or not getting your reading for yourself is something you want to go with. Today what we have is a chart of a 51-year-old female, okay? And I'm going to pick out one piece of her chart, really. It's just one little section, and we're going to elaborate on that in terms of what's gone on the last year or so and what's coming up the next year or so for that. It happens to be a very intense kind of zone for her right now. And so the piece of the chart that we're going to go over today is the sun sign. And yeah, the sun sign is the one piece of astrology that most people are familiar with. Most people know what their sun sign is. Okay? In this case, her sun is in Libra. And we can see her chart right up here. And her sun is in Libra in the bottom right-hand side in the 6th house, conjunct the North Node, that little horseshoe thing. It's in a conjunction. It's right next to it. Basically sharing the same location as that point. And so someone with the sun in Libra, with the sun in the 6th house, this is someone who's intending on a soul level in this life to serve in some way. The positive side of this is someone that really wants to serve and help and everything else. But the negative side is that she can get pulled into service that isn't aligned with who she is. And we can see the sun in this case, which is the ruler of Leo. We have Leo on the 5th house, the house just to the bottom and to the left of the 6th house. And what this tells us is that not only is she trying to serve, but she's trying to serve according to her own heart. That's represented by the 5th house and that Leonian aspect on the 5th house. Okay? And so the challenge for her then is to ensure that she's picking a service for humanity that serves her in her heart and not just someone else's desires or someone else's will. That's the big challenge for her. In any case, with the sun conjunct the North Node, now this just adds a little bite to the chart as well. This is someone that on a soul level is intending to be seen and recognized and as a leader in her field, as a leader in her service this life. She's lived other lives, this would tell us, where she wasn't recognized. And this is one when she's saying, you know what, I want to be, not only do I want to do my service and serve according to my heart, but I want to be recognized for it. I want to be a leader in that. And so that's one of her intentions in this life. Whether or not she gets there or not is another thing, okay? And when it comes to talking about, achieving our intentions, the intentions are laid out in the chart, but achieving them, that's really up to human choice. There are opportunity periods in our lives represented by when the planets transit different locations of our chart, okay? And so we're going to focus right in on that Sun North Node portion of her chart because this has been under fire for a little over a year, and for the next year or so, it'll still be under fire by 4 outer planets. That's a big doozy of a time period for someone to deal with, okay? Basically, anyone with planets in the early cardinal signs, the cardinal signs being Libra, Aries, Capricorn, and Cancer, have felt a lot of activity going on, okay? Whether or not it's their sun sign or their moon or whatever it is, anyone with planets around that zone, the first 5 degrees or so of cardinal signs, have really felt it in the last couple of years. And she's no exception, let's put it that way. So anyway, we'll start out with kind of what occurred first, and then we'll go in sequential order from there. If we go back to about December of 2009, okay, this is when the planet Saturn, you can see Saturn circled there, Saturn came up into her 6th house. This is a time period in general with Saturn in the 6th house where she is having to get serious about her service. And it just so happens that this is someone who has a lot of intentions about how they want to serve and how they want to make sure their service is aligned with their heart and make sure that they're recognized for that service as well. And they're a leader in that service, okay? And so she can choose whatever she wants, but the intent here is to be a leader in what she chooses, okay? And so when Saturn came up, it made a conjunction. That means it shared the same location. It was in the first 5 degrees of Libra or so. And this conjunction started in December of 2009. So it's January 2011 right now, January 25th, 2011. So just over a month and a year ago, this is when all the fun started for her. And the first part of this definitely wasn't all that fun. I'm sure she could attest to that. Saturn conjunct our sun, that's a very tough transit. no matter what your intention is, this is a time period that you have to get serious about it, okay? And so she's really had to get serious about aligning her service with her heart and making sure she's serving herself and not just others. It's it's a dicey game to play for a Libra who just wants to please in a lot of ways. And so she's learned a lot about where to draw boundaries, where to draw lines with people, how to best serve others while not neglecting herself. Big time lessons going on. So starting in December of 2009, this occurred. It went all the way until about September or October of 2010, around that time frame, so just a few months ago it ended. So this would have been a really heavy period, a real heavy period for setting the intention, the new self, the I'm not going to take this anymore component of herself, the this is who I am, this is who I'm not anymore. So she's really developing that, and it's not, it's easier said than done, I should say. It's not something that comes easy during this kind of a transit. Saturn could be pretty harsh on us in some ways. It's a school of hard knocks in a lot of ways, all right? And during this whole period, with Saturn conjunct her Sun, Pluto decided to make a visit as well. If you look at the top right of the chart, notice Pluto is circled up there. Pluto has just entered her 9th house, so this is about expanding her views, expanding her information bases and things like that. So learning, heavy learning curve going on right about now for her. And Pluto, while it's up there in the 9th house, it's squaring or forming a 90-degree angle down to that same location, her Sun. And the North Node is right there too. And so this square period started about January of 2010, so about a year ago. And that's going to last all the way until the end of 2011. So it's about a 2-year transit, and we're about halfway done with it. And so the way this worked is Saturn was her opportunity to set the parameters, to say, this is not me, this is me. And to work on that, and to set the intention to work on creating the new self. Okay? And that new self would be the self that, in her case, is aligned with her heart in terms of what service she's providing humanity. Okay? Big challenge. Pluto comes along, and the purpose of Pluto in this sequence is to get rid of, to destroy, and to transform those pieces of herself that will prevent the new self from forming. So she's trying to take herself from this old to this new, to define what isn't her and define what is her. And Pluto is here to throw events in our faces, essentially. It's a very difficult planet also to deal with. Having Saturn and Pluto hitting any one of your planets at the same time is a very difficult time. Because essentially Saturn is saying, let's set the parameters, and Pluto is saying, all right, I'm going in. It's almost like the demolition crew and the reconstruction crew. So it's got a negative side and a positive side, but the point is we have to demo all the old self to bring in the new self. And so during a Pluto transit, especially a Pluto square Sun transit, a lot of times during that 2-year period or so, we're going to have a lot of experiences, a lot of events that occur. Whatever those are for any individual will depend on their choices. But these events will often throw in our faces opportunities for us to choose between the old and the new. To say, whoa, I'm in a situation. Okay, this is how we would normally go about this, but no, I'm trying to be something different. And so there's an opportunity to be something different. But we wouldn't change, we wouldn't be able to prove that we're different or changing without these opportunities. And we often call these opportunities challenges or what have you. But in any case, the last year or so has been pretty intense, to put it lightly. Okay, with Saturn and Pluto both making hard aspects to her Sun. The Saturn component of this ended in the fall of 2010, like we said earlier. So around September, October, she would have definitely felt a lifting of some of this kind of heaviness and burden that's been on her. But the Pluto aspect is still going on. So she's still transforming. She just has already completed the stage of setting the parameters and setting her intention for the new self. Okay. Now we have coming up in the near term, just next month in February. We're here at January 25th, 2011. By mid to late February 2011, so just about 3 to 4 weeks from now, Jupiter, up in the upper left-hand part of the chart, you see Jupiter and the planet Uranus circled up there. We'll talk about Jupiter first, then the planet Uranus. They're both about to form oppositions to that same Sun and to the North Node. The first one will be here in mid to late February with Jupiter. And when Jupiter opposes your Sun, this can be a very optimistic time. A time where opportunity seems to be abundant and plentiful, and it's only about a week and a half kind of time frame. And what this week and a half time frame is going to serve for her is like a window opening that says, here's all the work you've done to change yourself. Well, here's some opportunities. And in her case, with Jupiter and Uranus in the 12th house, these are going to be opportunities for healing and more spiritually oriented. So if her service is spiritually oriented, this is going to bring really big opportunities, okay? And the February part won't be, won't pull in the completeness of these opportunities. This will be the preview. Think of the February time period as the preview, and then once we get to June of 2011, and this is when Uranus forms the opposition, this is when opportunities abound. So if she's in any kind of service that involves others, which is more than likely with this kind of setup, then more clientele will be coming in. Things like that. Okay, so the preview is in February, so she may notice that there's opportunities to set herself up to bring in more people or to reach more people around that time. And then once June of 2011 through about May or June of 2012, that 1 year period when Uranus is opposing her sun, this is when opportunities are going to be abound. And it's going to be a far cry from when she was experiencing these deep restructuring and transformations, when now she's just going to be this new person who she's become, now having to serve as that person suddenly. So whereas a couple of years ago she only envisioned herself this way, about a year from now she'll be this person. Okay, that's really exciting. That's really exciting. That's really the crux of this kind of sequence of planets, what it all means for someone, especially if it's your sun sign that's getting hit. And that's the case here. Again, Pluto's going to last all the way until the end of 2011, so there's still some transformations to go. But by the time 2011 ends and we get into the first half of 2012, this is when the only part of this sequence of aspects that's left is Uranus opposing her sun. This is when it's just a lot of having to react to what's coming at her. And this can be a very positive thing. So I think she does have some things to look forward to, especially if she's put in the work the last year. And if she still continues to put in the work over the course of this year, I think late 2011 into the first part of 2012 is really going to be a turning point, going to really show who she is in the world and how she can really serve others in a way that's aligned with her heart, which is really what her soul intention is. So being conscious of this time period, as important as it is, can really help. Being unconscious of this time period can make this period feel a little hellish, because our whole life is being turned upside down and we can't figure out why, even though we might have a deep soul urge, and that's the reason why. It's the soul urge to change. But we have to be aware of that to really take advantage. Anyway, that wraps up our On the Spot here today. Again, I'm Christopher Taylor of My Astro Chris. If you have any questions or want to be put on the spot yourself, you can contact me through my website, www.myastrochris.com. Thanks again for joining. We'll see you next time.